I
Put the
want
tape on it.
I want to isolate this a little bit. I can go. Let me filter markers only on selected track, so it will give me only the markers visible that live on that track, which is kind of handy. You can have up to 32,000 markers now. If anybody maxes that out, I just talked to a guy this morning. He does the live show for Usher, and he uses about 1,500 to 2,000 markers. So he's managing all these things. So the ability to sort and sift and color code and all that stuff is really helpful. You get into long sessions, large projects, markers really can be helpful, but they've kind of upped the game on markers in Pro Tools recently. So
This is in a live show, live concert?
yeah, he does all the Pro Tools playback for Usher, and he's got, I don't know, a 90-minute show, and he's got all the instrumentation recorded in the session, so he can mute. If the guitar player's not there, he'll unmute the guitar track. And Nerves of Steel, that guy. The whole show is based on his Pro Tools session. He outputs time code for lighting changes and keyboard patch changes and all that stuff. I'm like, man, more power to him. He's got nerves. Young guy. I couldn't do that. Anyway, all right. So that's markers. And again, there's deeper functionality in here that you can get into with manage and filtering. You can sort and sift and all that stuff. It's very helpful, kind of cool stuff. A small thing, but a big thing. Another thing that I like in this new version of Pro Tools is preferences. If you go to setup menu, preferences, up at the top, there's a search field. So you can top in like a backup. Whoops, you got to type it, spell it correctly. It will take me right to the auto backup feature, which I usually like to bump up to 200 or more, and every 2 minutes I'll do that. And then copy, I want files to be automatically copied on import, so I'll type in copy at the top. It takes me right to that preference, and it shows you what tab you're in. So if I want to go, I don't know, any of the automation things, I can go through there. Automation is included on 3 different tabs here, so operation I don't really need, but I'll do mixing. I want to suppress write automation warnings and allow latch prime and stop. So it's just a quick way to kind of navigate things, and I think it makes it easier. If you go into a new system, you can now keep kind of a list of your preferences. In the past, you kind of have to wade through each tab to go, okay, what preference is it that I set in here? I can't remember. You could create a little note for yourself and go, okay, automatically copy files on import, create a short little list, and then you could go in here on a new system, or maybe you're updating your computer, Tony, and you need to update your preferences on the new rig. You can keep track of that easily. So that's kind of a cool thing.
But I missed the first part of your sentence because my phone rang. Were you saying that that preference window is session dependent now or global? Did I misunderstand?
Well, whether the preference is global or session based is not changed. The only thing that's been added is the ability to search through all of the different preferences tabs at that search bar at the top. So if you're looking for a particular preference, you can quickly find it up there, which is kind of helpful. A small thing, but makes your life a little bit easier, I think. Let's see, Dolby Atmos. Anybody doing Dolby Atmos? Atmos.
Very.
Render only Barry. The render has been included. That was back in 2023.12 version of Pro Tools, and since then they've been adding additional functionality on the render. They've included more. Whoops, let me do this. I wasn't set up as a Atmos
I'm not getting
session.
the screen anymore. I had to take an email and people wanting the log on code, blah, blah, blah. So I don't have your second. Let me see if I can get it. Sorry about that. And on the recording stop too.
It's definitely there, Barry.
Okay.
If you go to the top right-hand side
Yep.
and you look at standard,
I don't.
where it says view.
Yep. It says gallery, multi-speaker, immersive. I think I know. I don't know. Gallery is all I have.
Well, everybody else can see my screen.
All right,
still, right?
that's all that's important. Okay, I don't know if it gets recorded or not. Sorry.
It's all right. So the Dolby Atmos render has been incorporated into Pro Tools, and again, unlike Avid, it's no additional cost. If you were using the renderer previously, you had to pay for that software separately. $300, which is not huge, but it's still a chunk of change. For a while, they were doing a promo for $99, which I don't think exists anymore. But if you have 2023.12 version of Pro Tools or greater, the Dolby Atmos render is included. And each release since then has added or kind of refined the functionality of Dolby Atmos inside Pro Tools. So in this latest edition, they added a couple of additional speaker formats, 914. There was a limited speaker set format with the initial releases of the render in Pro Tools. So they've built upon that. You can have additional live re-renders and done some other cool stuff for the Dolby Atmos functionality in Pro Tools. I won't get into that. Let's see, preference filtering I talked about. Oh, IO color coding. I think this is a kind of a big one. Again, small but large, right? So now inside Pro Tools, this kind of was introduced maybe a version or two back, so it's not specific to 24.6, but you have the ability to color code inputs, outputs, and buses. So if you're in your IO setup window and you want to color code your output 1314 to be whatever, yellow, you can do that. And you will see that in your mix window or your edit window where you're looking at inputs and outputs. And you can see that I've color coded a bunch of inputs and outputs and buses as well. So here's my headphone mix. I've made it green. And visually, it just helps you, dial in on specific things. And if you do this with a template, I think it really helps, because as you become more familiar with your own template, you really kind of lock in on color coding and what things you're looking for based on not only track names but color coding as well. So that's a cool thing and easy to use, right? You go to setup menu, IO, and whatever it is that you want to color code, there's a little column all the way to the left. If you click on the empty square to the left of the track that you want to color, you select it, and of course you could do a group of inputs or outputs or buses simultaneously. Just select them and color code them all. It also helps break up the IO setup window. The IO setup window is getting quite large, as the sessions get larger and input and output counts grow. It's a little bit easier to manage what you're looking at. Again, tweaky things, but I think it's all good. Clips list. There's some filtering that's available on the clips list. They've kind of buffed that up a little bit so you can search and sort. I mean, you could do this sort of previously, but it's been streamlined a little bit. So if I only want to look at audio, I'm going to hit Option click, turn them all off, and I can filter them with audio. Now you could do that before, but it was a function of, the clip menu. So it's just a little bit more convenient to get to. The menu functionality, you've got a menu inside Pro Tools, and it's got a bunch of different things that you may or may not want to choose. They've incorporated a shortcut on that. So if I hit Option here, it will show me all of the items in that little subcategory here. I can turn them all off. It's Option key to do that. Or maybe I want to bring up, just these. So I can turn them on or off individually, or I can turn them all off and, again, little shortcuts that are helpful. Let's see, what else? Memory locations, we did that. System requirements. I think that's kind of my hit and run overview of 2024.6. Any questions about any of that?
John, maybe you want to go over the 3 OSs that will work with it. At least that's what they say in the README.
Okay. Good idea. Let's do that. So,
and anything else you feel? This ARA thing really bumped up the requirement by the CPU, the computer's power. So some OSs aren't equipped to do that. Go ahead, John.
Well, yeah, good point. OS and hardware, right? Because all of this functionality is native based, right? So it's getting the horsepower for these plugins. from the computer itself. It's not coming off of an HDX card if you have one. So for 24.6, the official supported versions of Pro Tools are Monterey, Ventura, and Sonoma. And I refer to this list, although I've got better things to remember if I can. I don't want to try to remember this list. So I go here quite often. I'm doing installs frequently or support, whatever. I always check this list, and it's updated quite frequently with every release. New OSs are supported typically with each release. There's a release just about every quarter from Avid. So this is, current in terms of what's working, what they're recommending or not, and if there are issues that they have found with particular versions of OS. So something I look at, if you're not doing a lot of installs, probably don't need to look at this very frequently, but if you're doing a system upgrade, definitely check this out. The only exception is if you buy a new computer, it usually has the most recent version of OS, which sometimes is an issue, but lately hasn't been too much of a problem. So like, for example, Sonoma 14.5 is supported right now, and who knows, a month or two before Avid can catch up. A new version of the OS will probably be released, 14.6 or 7 or 15, whatever. So, proceed with caution on those. If you don't have to update, don't do it until you check this list. If you get a new computer and you're stuck with a newer version, give it a shot, or refer here, because sometimes they'll publish information about an OS if there's known issues before it's supported, which they did with Sonoma. There was some Sonoma issues here, so good info. And like I said,
I just want to throw in here to everybody that we never want to be the first to do any new version of Pro Tools or operating system. Let the kids take the arrows in the back. Let the pioneers. You don't have to be first. You just need to keep working. I'm sure we all know that already. Sorry, John. Sorry for interruption.
No, that's good information.
Unless you're on Windows 10, then it's been working since 2016.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's Windows for sure.
Hey, I've got a comment for the group here. And are you updating Yukon? 'Cause I rely on it daily.
Well,
It's buggy as blank.
No, I haven't seen that. There is, yes, I am updating. I keep mine current. There is some new functionality that's the way they deal with applications now, which I'm not really a big fan of. So one of the issues I've seen with the most recent version of uControl is this applications window, and I'm not sure why they did this, but okay, I think it was in an effort to isolate Yukon to only the apps that need to see it. And what you may want to do if you're having issues is go into your Yukon settings and go to the applications tab. If you're running Pro Tools 24, or whatever version you are, and this doesn't correspond, you probably want to delete that, get rid of that. And then
Let me interject this.
Yeah.
I am probably the one of two users of Logic Audio with all of the Yukon control surfaces. And the biggest thing is it wouldn't sync, it wouldn't lock up when I started the session. I had to turn off the Wi-Fi for the tower. For the Mac Pro Intel has a Wi-Fi built in. Once I turned that off, when I started the session, it would sync. But when I assign soft keys to like the artist control, which is an old piece, I know, but it probably happens with the iPad app, the labels are mangled. That's not accurate. It used to tell you the text of what you assign, like insert or a delete or a assign or whatever. Now gives you some funky code. So Yukon used to work 2 or 3 years back really solid, and with each iteration there's bugs, and I just want you to be aware of that. That's all. I'm going to mute. I'll leave.
No, that's fine. No, that's good info. I haven't seen that, but and I'm not denying that it's happening to you. There may be a cleanup that needs to happen on that version of Yukon if you've updated it. Maybe it's holding on to something else.
The thing is that Apple and Avid need to work together and not blame each other, because what I've been told by Avid employees is it's Apple's problem. And Apple say,
Good
well,
luck
it's
with that.
Avid's problem. So, but I'll stop.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Thank you for that.
As far as your Wi-Fi thing, if you go into your network system pref and you make the Ethernet connection that is hosting your Yukon stuff the top of the service order, if you set service order and you bump the Ethernet port that has your Yukon stuff up to the top, that should help your Wi-Fi
Oh,
stuff if you haven't
well,
done that
yeah.
already.
Disabling the Wi-Fi eliminated that issue.
Okay.
But hey, I love this stuff, and I love that it integrates with Logic and Cubase, and would like to see more other third-party partners using Yukon.
Yeah. There's a long list.
Good.
Yeah. So
I'll mute.
all good there. Let's see. What else? Any other questions, comments?
I have one.
Sure. Oh, I
Mark,
lost
you muted yourself.
I'm not hearing you.
Mark, you muted yourself. You have to unmute. You're still muted, dude.
Yeah. I know how this works. I have a client that did a MIDI session in Pro Tools, probably 23 point something version. And then he started having computer problems. So, and his computer was getting a little long in the tooth. So he bought a new computer, a Windows computer with Windows 11 on it, installed new, the latest version of Pro Tools, which, you know, as of a few weeks ago was what is 24.3.
Yeah.
And then tried to open this MIDI session that he had. And the phenomenon that was happening is when you, and I'm not a MIDI guru and neither is he, but he did compose this orchestral piece that was pretty impressive. So the problem was when you listen to the new session, the MIDI notes are very abrupt. You can look at the cursor and even solo the session and watch the cursor go by the length of the MIDI notes. But what you're hearing is just the front of the MIDI note. Now, that's kind of unexplainable, but before I start ripping apart this session as being corrupt and trying to import them into new import the MIDI tracks into new sessions, is there something obvious I'm missing or that anybody else has experienced?
Yes, I can help you with that, Mark.
Oh,
What's
awesome.
happening is when you are when you're recording the MIDI, there's a place in the instrument track to set input. And what is more than likely happening is that you are receiving input from, it's just set to all, okay? And my experience has been that when it's set to all, there's something in your MIDI setup that's sending more than one issue, that's sending more than one note. And so you get this kind of, instantaneous release as soon as you hit the note. So what you have to do is, if you have your main MIDI controller, set the input for the track for that main MIDI controller, and then you will only get the note that you want. You're actually feeding it a bunch of MIDI, and it needs more specific MIDI than that.
Say that one more time, Eric.
Okay, the second time I charged for, so, didn't. Okay.
Send the bill to Jon Connolly.
Send the bill to John.
Yeah.
John, you
take
don't
a
work
Sears
for
card?
Avid. They don't care. What happens is, in fact, John, can you open up a MIDI track and so we can?
I apologize for not being a MIDI person here, but
No, that's okay. In fact, this is
I'm
really
doing that.
oddball. Oddball is my specialty. I don't know if that's a good thing to say.
I know it by those classers you were wearing.
So here's an instrument track. I'm going to make sure the instrument view or instrument column is enabled. Tell me if this is what you were speaking of.
Okay.
The MIDI input is set to all by default.
That's right. You see that, Mark?
Select it.
Yes, I
And you
see
have
it,
to
but
set
that's
that
just
to
the
be a-
default. I never changed that.
Well, I mean, here's what I'm saying. You need to change it to be the one keyboard controller, and I even recommend to set it for the channel, for like channel 1 or something like that. So you're only receiving from one channel and one keyboard. And what's
So when you
happening?
drop down that all menu, what do you see? Oh, I see channels. Okay.
Well, channels, but also look right under all. This lists all the places where you can get MIDI input
Yeah.
from where you can get MIDI input. And that's what you have to do. You have to specify everything in your room is sending some kind of signal so that as soon as you hit that key, somewhere else is sending a release. And that's what's happening with that.
Is this the existing MIDI though, right? Not while recording. Is that right?
No, this
So-
is specifically while recording. You
Right,
need to-
no, so
The
I'm-
session's been recorded.
Yeah.
It all worked fine. But now
Yeah.
when we open it up on new Pro Tools and a new computer, we're getting this intermittent thing. Or it sounds like note on, like it looks like a quarter note, but it sounds like a 32nd note or a 16th note.
That was my next question is,
Yeah.
do the notes look like they're truncated on the timeline, or do they appear to be the correct length in the timeline? If they are
They
the
appear
correct
to
length,
be the correct length as performed.
okay,
And
so
when you
there was
click on-
issues with different virtual instruments in the past where on an update, and there was a couple of the Avid Air instrument plugins where it would just do a quick note on off thing. So it might be an update to the virtual instrument, or just try to put a different virtual instrument on there and see if the problem follows, whatever the sound source that it's triggering. You can try
Yeah,
that
the other
in addition
caveat
to
I didn't want to open up a can of worms was he recorded this MIDI using a guitar synthesizer rather than a keyboard. So
guitar
note
players.
on, note off takes on a whole new meaning when you're sustaining a note on a guitar. And I'm unfamiliar with how that really works. But I do know that the original composition on 23 point whatever it was sounded incredible. And now it's got this super choppy thing. So, all right, thank you all for your suggestions.
Sure. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it.
You're in staccato mode. You got to take it out of staccato mode.
Hey, quickly, John, what was that panel you
Where is
opened up?
staccato mode?
The network settings.
That was a joke.
Oh,
Apple menu, system settings,
not funny. Haha.
Not funny.
and go to network.
Fine.
And what you might want to do is, you may have, like I do here, a bunch of Ethernet ports that are not used. So I should go in here and just either delete these or make them inactive. Probably
Okay.
delete them. Get rid of anything that's not needed here. And then of the items that you are using, Wi-Fi, Ethernet 1, Ethernet 2, whatever, you want to make sure that the Yukon network port is at the top of the list. And in, what am I in, Ventura? I think I'm in Ventura. Can't even remember. No, I am Sonoma here. In Sonoma, it's this little 3-dot menu down
Okay,
here.
cool.
Set service order. And that
Okay.
allows you to just drag and drop. So Ethernet
Sweet.
2 should be at the top of my list. I'll do that right now. I set this up so I could fix it intentionally in front of you all. There we go.
Gotcha.
Sure you did.
Yeah. Yes.
If you say so.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, yeah, my iPhone USB, we don't need that. We'll get rid of it. That's not a network connectivity that I want on this system. Do I want it to? No, get rid of it. So clean all that up, turn them off, only enable what you need, and set Yukon up to the top of the list.
Thanks.
Sure. All right. Anything else before I hand it back to Tony?
Hey, John.
Hey.
Hey, John. Hey, John. What happens with the I/O colors when there's multiple outputs assigned? Like if you have it set to 3 buses or 3 outputs, how does that reflect in the colors?
It crashes. I don't know. Let's try it.
Oh,
All
yeah?
right. So I'm going to do 15, 16. We'll go to red here, and we'll go to blue here, and let's see what we can do here. So output, I'm going to molt the output of this instrument track. What did I do? 15, 16. Of course, it's not going to allow me to do that now. It's doing, because I think I am in renderer mode. Let me get rid of that. The Dolby Atmos tab in the I/O setup, I'm going to turn that off. I don't need it on right now. Let's see if that allows me to mult these outputs. Nope. Let me fix that. This is the one challenge of going back and forth between Atmos and non-Atmos. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to default these. Those look good.
While you're doing that, I've got a question for you. I know that
Sure.
they've done a lot of improvements, and that's really a lot of really cool things. But is there a way that when you bring something from another session, like when I do Budapest scoring and they're using the same number of inputs, it remaps it to what my IO is automatically, so I don't have to go through and do all this machinations with the IO setup? That takes me like a good amount of time.
Yeah, so that's kind of an age-old problem. You know, there's a gazillion Pro Tools systems out there, and they all have different numbers of inputs and outputs, and definitely different busing and naming and all that. So a lot of effort has been put into to manage that, but it's not easily resolved. But that's where restore from session and you know, mapping to output comes into play. So what's supposed to happen if you're going to collaborate with somebody is take a session, open it up, sign it, outputs on your rig, send it to the person you're working with, have them do it. And when that session goes back and forth, it's supposed to automatically remap its outputs. And it does most of the time. Sometimes it doesn't successfully, but if it can minimize the number of tweaks that you need to do in here. But mapping to output is where you can do that. Inputs, basically, you just are going to have to, you know, import your own or restore from session, because those are not tied in that mapping sort of scenario that the bus tab is. So the short answer is no, but not on inputs. You just have to import your own inputs.
Okay, and then my last question is, I'm running Mac OS on Monterey, and it's got 128 gig of RAM on it, and so I know I need to upgrade to a new system. I definitely know that. There's cobwebs in the old one. I know that. But I could run this. Is that correct?
On Monterey?
Mm-hmm. 12.8.
You sure you have Monterey?
Got Monterey.
On a 2012
On a 2012 cheese grater, I'm running
and a
Monterey.
vintage Mac.
We'll hip you to that, John. We'll take care of you, buddy. Give us a call. And by the way, Tony, you're ready for Ventura, if not Sonoma, on your computer. Yeah.
It will run. I mean, it will run. It's running Monterey, and it's running very solidly, by the way.
Okay.
I don't know how, but
Are you trying to justify not upgrading your computer? I will not stand by that, Tony. Come on in, man. The water's fine. You'll be glad you did.
I think if I bought a new computer, you'd have a heart attack.
Yeah, of joy, if such a thing exists.
I think I put it in the new one.
So so I assigned multiple outputs on this track. You can see I've got the plus here, and it took on the purple color, which let's see what that is. Let's see which one got the priority. It looks like it is
So much to do now. I'm 2 hours behind.
15, 16. So I don't know which one it took.
Yeah,
It wasn't the main output. Maybe it was the last one. I assigned.
Les, can you mute, please? Les, can you mute your microphone, please?
I'm trying. There you go.
Let's try it.
Thanks, Barry.
Oh, look, there you
Another
go.
one.
Now there's multiple colors.
Okay, I should be good.
So it splits the colors. There's a purple and green.
Cool.
I think I have more colors than are shown there in terms of my output routing, but I suspect maybe it will break things up, which is kind of cool. I didn't realize it did that. That's a good question. All right. Anything else?
Also, the other age-old problem with Pro Tools is the video playback engine. Have they improved that at all in the recent versions?
Well, that's always a work in progress, and I can give you a couple pointers on that. So the video engine in Pro Tools is Avid Media Composer, and the native video file format for Media Composer, and therefore Pro Tools Video Engine, is not QuickTime. It will play QuickTime, but the DNX HD video file formats are the native version for video. QuickTime works. We all know that. There's certain QuickTime file formats that are more friendly to a nonlinear system than others. So if you use like H.264, those are convenient to send over the internet because they're small in terms of the file size and the picture quality is good, but they don't lend themselves well to nonlinear video playback, right? Because a single frame of video is made up of, up to 15 or 20 previous frames. So it's always trying to borrow video information from previous frames. So if you can avoid that, that will help your performance. If you have video hardware, like a Blackmagic video peripheral or whatever that is, and this isn't easy because it requires some hardware, it's not a bad idea to resolve your Pro Tools hardware to video ref as well as your video hardware. But of course that requires HDX and a SyncX and video ref and all that. Because what's happening there is if the video engine and the audio engine aren't perfectly in sync and Pro Tools is monitoring that, it will stop playback occasionally. And for short form, that's not an issue. But if you're trying to do like a 30-minute playback or whatever, they're two different devices, so they could potentially drift a bit, and at some point Pro Tools might go, hey, you know what, they've drifted too far out, so I'm going to stop playback. Whereas if they're resolved to video ref. If you're not using video hardware, then this is a non-issue and it should play back, but just there's constant updates on that. In fact, video file compatibility, let me see if I can pull that up real quick, because there is a bunch of information that's updated frequently on that. There's, too many flavors of video format and resolutions and all that. Let's see, video compatibility. Let's see here. And this is a fun read. If you can't sleep at night, go to this page. I just did a search for Pro Tools video compatibility, and it will give you some information that may be helpful on getting better performance out of the video engine. There's a free app called Shutter Encoder. I think there's others as well that you can get to, but there's a Shutter Encoder free app that you can use to convert video. So if you find a video file format that's not happy in Pro Tools, you can use this free utility and convert it to another format that may play more nicely in your Pro Tools session. So here's a whole bunch of info I won't go into. It's pretty dry, but if you need info on video in Pro Tools, this is a good place to look. It's the Pro Avid knowledge base, but just do a Google search for Pro Tools video compatibility. Hopefully that will give you some info.
I had a question, John, about external clocking. Is that changed at all for my I/O boxes? It's pretty.
In what way?
Well, you have to go through each one of your I/O boxes and tell it to externally sync from my clock.
Oh yeah, from the bottom up.
Yeah, I go from top down, but it doesn't matter. I have 5 I/Os, so it's a pain.
You're just bragging, Barry.
No, I'm not really. No, not really. It's just pain in the ass. I just wondered if there was a little macro somebody makes that I could just click a button and it does all that for me.
Not that I know of. I know what you're talking about. If you have multiple audio interfaces on a Pro Tools system, each one needs to be set, and you're doing external clocking.
Yeah, external, not loop sync.
Not loop sync. You have to go in there and set each one initially. It's a slight pain in the butt, but I don't know of any changes to that. I'm not aware of any, so I think you still have to do that manually.
Yeah. It's been there since TDM days, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually the same GUI. I can't believe it. It's like the old timey GUI. It's about that big.
Yeah. This is not showing it properly because I'm using a Matrix Studio. But I know what you're talking about. If you got HDIOs or other interfaces that emulate an HDIO, they will appear listed here, and you have to go in and change them each. independently. The cost of having so many interfaces.
Oh, well,
Yeah. What else? Anything else? Oh, I gotta give myself a plug. My YouTube channel, Pro Tools Services. So, I try to create YouTube videos with Pro Tools tutorial information, and I try to make them very short and to the point. So, if you need information on Pro Tools functions, I've got, I don't know, 65 videos over there, and I had it up over here, but I don't now. So check it out. If you want me to create a video for some Pro Tools related topic that I don't have there already, I'm happy to do it. But they're short, intentionally. They're based around my attention span.
How long are they?
There's a bunch of them that are 60 seconds or less, Pro Tools Services. There are some that are longer just because the topic is longer, but I have an Atmos overview video that's probably, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes at least, but I really try to get to the point and not BS, because I use YouTube a lot as well for my own research, and there's nothing worse when you get some knucklehead talking for 5 minutes at the top of the video. It's like, get to the point. So anyway, Pro Tools Services, and how do you sample rate convert a session, 5.1 surround over a panner overview, or 5.1 routing, Dolby Atmos overview. Some of them are really basic little shortcuts. So check that out. Hopefully it's helpful.
Put that link in the chat so everybody can see it.
Good idea. I'll put that there.
Yeah.
Meeting group chat. There it is.
Perfect. Anybody else have any questions for the man? Oh, shocking.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Jon
Thanks.
Connolly, thanks so much, man.
No
I
problem.
owe you a nice dinner at Granville. So.
Okay. All right.
But thanks so much, guys. We're going to be doing something next month. Is there somebody else who had something? Dave, Barry, did you have anything else?
not yet. I'll get something. John, that's great. Thanks so much for that. I'm going to show up at your next one, which is the first Tuesday of the month, right?
Yeah, actually, I didn't plug that either. I host a free Zoom Pro Tools workshop once a month at first Tuesday of the month, and we just, similar to this, we talk about new features or whatever, new plugins. Or, Barry joins in occasionally and gives a review of some hardware or software or whatever. It's just kind of an open forum for us audio geeks. So if you're interested, Tony, you can, I guess I can put it in here. I'll put it in my email.
It's a Zoom code. So, yeah, and I'm going to check in to see if I can get us on a recurring Zoom link. It doesn't show up in my interface for whatever reason, the Zoom.
Hey, I just posted my link to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to break 100 subscriptions. So anybody, please.
Nice. I didn't see it. I don't see it here.
It's in the group chat.
Oh, I see it there. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and I'm a composer, Yukon lover, Logic Audio.
Sort of Yukon lover.
Sort of. No, I've been using. My first piece was the Transport when it was Euphonics. That's how far back I go with this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And my forte, if you will, is world music. So,
Cool.
if you ever questions about African music or indigenous stuff, get a hold of me. Thanks for
Awesome.
being here.
Is that transport work with Yukon these days?
Yes, it does.
It does? Okay.
Hey, the jog wheel's amazing.
Okay.
I
got
do
an
love
old
it.
one. I got an old one sitting here. I was getting ready to throw it in the trash, but maybe
No, don't. Plug it in.
All right. Okay, cool. Thank you.
No problem.
Hey, don't throw anything in the trash. I was recently cleaning out my garage and listed a whole bunch of junk on eBay. Things that fit into IISA slots.
Oh my God. I have no time for that. And after eBay takes their whoop ass fee, it's not worth it.
Well, I think it is.
To me, anyway.
Those things that are hard to find and nobody needs anymore are the ones they're willing to pay for. I'm finding out by surprise. The stuff
Okay.
that you can buy on eBay is, I don't know, very interesting.
Like an Alesis reverb?
I have one of those.
What, wedge? You have a wedge?
No. No, I have a Q4.
I have a wedge.
I got some real shit. Okay.
A wedgie.
No. There's like a
Okay.
mono in stereo at Verb from
Yeah.
Guitar Center.
Vintage.
Yeah.
I thought my computer was old. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Seriously. Take down the stuff before we leave. Take down the stuff for Jon Connolly's Pro Tools services, and then his videos and his video channel, David's video channel. Everything is up there. But thank you all so much. I'm down in Austin right now, so it's actually 1 something my time. So
And how hot is it down there?
it's
You
pretty
can't
hot.
be outside.
Well, it's pretty fucking hot. I'm not
So
gonna
there's a
lie.
music festival this weekend in Dallas. Outside. I don't think there's going to be a crowd.
Well, you'd be surprised. In the evening, it's perfect.
Right.
So it's hot during the
It's-
day, but during the evening, I just sat on my mom's back porch at night, and it's stunningly beautiful. So
All right. Well, I'm up in Fort Worth where it's probably 95 degrees right now.
yeah,
Tony, what studio are you at down there?
I'm just hanging out at my mom's house.
Oh,
Her
very
birthday's
cool.
this weekend. She turns 86.
Happy
I came down
birthday.
with you.
When's when's her birthday?
Saturday, the 29th.
My mom's the 28th. Very cool. 88.
Cool. Very, very cool. Yeah.
Hey,
I thought I'd be a
Tony.
good son and fly down.
Hey, Tony, I got a 12-core tower that I just replaced yesterday, a 2019. If you're interested, let me know. I'm not sure I'm going to sell it yet, but call me if you.
Yeah.
You could gaff tape them together, Tony, and get double the speed.
Oh, this
You can
12
update the processor in that 2019. You can,
That
you can,
this
you
12
can buy one
core,
third
if you're
party.
just if you're just doing mixing as opposed to running a bunch of virtual instruments.
Well, I have an HDX card, and I'm running Monterey in a 20. I think it's a 2012.
Okay, so this 2019, as far as running all the native side of that, will, you'll be using for 200 tracks, you'll be using 10-15% of the power.
Those 2019s are great, and you can even by
yeah.
yourself put a more powerful processor in there.
Yeah, if you want. I mean, I went from that to from a 12 to a 16 2019, only because I'm trickling down. I bought an M2 for my Logic rig, but I tell you, the difference between the 12 and 16 is negligible. The 12 smokes. I mean, it's an amazingly powerful computer. And the only reason I'm deciding whether I want to sell it or not is because the markdown, the depreciation is so great that it's like I feel stupid for possibly selling it. But for you, my friend,
It's an
possibly.
outstanding computer, and that it would be worth your while to
Check it out anyway.
and to get and to buy a 28 core chip on the internet and put it in there. Very worthwhile.
You know what would be interesting to me? It would be interesting to find out how many people are using older computers. Because I know Barry just upgraded his, but he had a cheese grater for a long time. And then he upgraded to the Max.
Yeah. I had an 8-core.
And also the
Problem.
the thing about the 2019s is you can put 1.5 terabytes of RAM in them, and the new M2, the Apple Silicon version of that, they really keep it down a lot. They limit the RAM for 190 gigs, and composers they need that. In fact, John Paisano put a video up on YouTube talking about how, well, now that 2019 is in and you can have 1.5 terabytes of RAM in one place, now we're in an age where everything can be in that one template and you don't need Vienna and that kind of stuff anymore. I think that's it's pretty compelling reason to keep that old computer.
Yeah, the tower
And
is,
old, it's not old, it's great, and all that space inside is so sexy.
I will go as far as saying, and I've owned and done a lot of testing with Macs since day one. I'll go as far as say the 2019 tower is the best computer Apple has ever made, period. It smokes everything else. Even the M2 that I just got, I'm running Logic on.
I could not agree more. I could not agree more.
Yeah, it's not, the M2 is not like maybe 10% faster than this tower was that I had on it.
In fact, a lot of the tech vloggers online, and they're still talking about it, that we have yet to see the really substantial performance of this single core performance of the Apple Silicon chips. And there was a reason, you know, when the first Apple Silicon came out, they released Big Sur. And Big Sur was a bottom up, there was a trend in the industry then where everybody was saying how efficient their software and their hardware was. And so Apple did a bottom-up rewrite. And if you think that Big Sur works great on Apple Silicon, it brings new life to older Intel machines. And that's why the 2010 and 2012 with OpenCore and now the 2013s with OpenCore are so desirable because they work faster than they've ever worked before.
Yeah, there's
I know we're a little over time, but if you're first time, I see Jeremy and AK. If you guys want to be on the Tech Breakfast list, please just find me on Facebook or here or wherever, and then send me your email, and I will make sure that you get the invite next time. And the invites, you know, we go out usually a couple of days before, but we have Tech Breakfast last Thursday of every month. So, anything else, y'all?
Yeah, maybe the next one we'll do at the restaurant again.
Yeah,
It's summer, you know.
July. Yeah,
Yeah.
July.
That would be July. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you all.
Cool.
Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you guys.
cool.
Thanks, John.